All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here for the Sunday call. So we're going to tap into Atlantis today. Its beautiful energy frequency, why it's showing up in the collective right now. If you had a life in Atlantis, did you have a life in Atlantis? If you did, how is it weaving into your current life experience? What do we need to know? How can we shift the timelines? All that great stuff. So I shall be tuning into all those beautiful frequencies and asking Raphael, and we will find out all of the above. In the meantime, a couple days ago, I did a podcast slash YouTube video with Julia Balaz, who is a galactic astrologer, which I find really, really interesting. And you can find that on YouTube, and I encourage you to watch it. She's just really fabulous. So take a look at that. You can find out what star system you're from and where the Atlantis asteroid falls in your chart. And some of it seems a little complicated, but she walks you through it, and you get to go on her website for free and pop in your information and get a sense of all that. And some beautifully surprising things. One of the stars that related to Raphael was really big in my chart. We went through my chart afterwards privately at the end, and it was in my house of communication. So that made perfect sense. And all of those things are beautifully validating for us when we get to see how that all comes together and how it works. Okay, so if you have questions in relationship to Atlantis, please put them in the chat box, and I'm going to be channeling and bringing in the beings, and we're going to see what shows up today. The Atlantis Code begins on Monday. Gosh, that's tomorrow. Wow. It's going to run for 3 weeks. Part of the time that it's happening, I will be in Scotland with Debishri, and we will be doing all kinds of magic. So by being in the Atlantis Code, you will be traveling with us to the sacred stones. We'll be at Callanish Stones for the summer solstice. The Atlantis Code will end right at the summer solstice, and we will be there with a fabulous activation for all of you guys. We will be at the Isle of Iona, the Isle of Skye, the Roslyn Chapel, all those good things, working with all the energies, going out into the outer Hebrides, to Harris and Lewis, on very sacred landscapes and connecting with the magic. Last time we went on a magic trip in Ireland, we came back and opened up 9 portals, and it was pretty epic. So stay tuned for a really powerful code. I'm super excited. And then it moved into the new Earth Code. And I was like, okay, well, that's it. We did it. Like the new Earth Code. What more could there be? There was so much love for so many of you that were in that code with us. It was just pouring with love. And I thought, okay, well, Atlantis, whatever. But now Atlantis seems even bigger than the new Earth Code. So it's just accelerating and extending as we continue to go. So I'm super excited. If you are new to listening to my channel, which I doubt most of you are, but just in case, when I channel, I close my eyes, I kind of rock back and forth, my hands move all over the place. I will say hello. And you will say hello back wherever you are in the world, and Raphael will come in, and we're going to have a chat and an activation. So looking forward to it. Okay, and don't forget, you can pop your questions in the chat box. All right, fabulous. So let me just see what's popping up in there, and I'll get started. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys had a chance to watch it. Yeah, please watch that. I'd appreciate it. Give me some feedback. I'd love to start to have more guests come on. And we're in communication with lots of different people and excited about having them on and into our community. Oh, one more bonus thing I forgot to tell you. 2 more. One is that when I was in Dominher with our Ascended Master group a couple weeks ago in Italy, there's a woman there. Her name is Esperide. She has been in Dominher for over 30 some years. She's very, very tapped in, full of energy, full of information, has some really incredible images of Atlantis, from the founder of Damanhur, who time traveled to Atlantis with an artist and brought back and painted everything that they saw. It's really amazing. She's going to be in the code with us on Tuesday and Wednesday, sharing all that information, taking you energetically back to Atlantis to find out if you were there, if you had a lifetime there, and when on the timeline in Atlantis you were there. And then she's going to be working with us on astral travel and teaching us how to astral travel. So pretty exciting. That's going to be on Tuesday and Wednesday during the code. So if you're registered for the code or you're in the membership, make sure you get on next week for sure, and then you'll be going with us to Scotland, so it's going to be fabulous. So it starts in the morning, and you guys can still get on if you're not. Okay, here we go. Oh, I know what the other thing was that I'm going to see if Julia Balaz, I don't know if she will, but I'm going to ask her if she'll come into the code and talk to us about where your stars are too. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay. All right, enough of that. Here we go. I'm a little cold, so I'm going to do my best to channel my very best. So everybody just take a nice deep breath, breathing in and letting go, coming into the here and now. Hello. 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 We are very excited as always to be here and to attune to all of you and your energy. And it has been some time that we have connected in this way, and we are delighted to have permission to enter this vessel and to be here to love and to adore from the deepest aspects of our being, all of you. And it is our understanding that you are attuning at this time to the frequency of Atlantis, and we would love to support you in any way in relationship to these frequencies as they are moving very rapidly across your planet at this time in an awakening, in a remembering of all that has been. And so, what is it?
Hi, Raphael. I wanted to start by asking, what does it mean to understand the fall and the rise of Atlantis?
Wow, there is a lot in this question to begin to unpack for all of you. And it is that much of this is around particular agreements and cycles that were born from this period of time that have carried through into your current experience that are coming to an end. And it is that it is no longer needed to go through certain cycles. And these cycles that many of you are familiar with and have known for so many lifetimes in which you have lived and ways of being are coming to completion. And yet, from your perspective, it may seem very far in the distance as to how you can know the completion of this. But in order for this to occur, what is needed is first a deep awareness and a full remembering and a knowing that there is no end, that you are eternal, and that it continues and continues to move, to change, to shift and unfold by your choice. In the choice of the origin of the original split into two of the division in order to see and to love oneself. And in doing so, you have amplified and fragmented in many ways into patterns of energies and pulsated out in this experience that you know as your understanding from where it is that you are here in the presence of now to a quite remarkable fullness. And in this fullness now, you're beginning to take what might be perceived as a breath inward. And in doing so, you are attempting unconsciously and consciously to unify and to bring back into what you perceive or understand as the 0 point, these energies back into wholeness. And yet, as they return into wholeness and come into that formation again, through the natural evolutionary process and the need and the wanting within the wholeness of self to experience self, they will split again. And they will expand again into other experiences as this continuously occurs in what your understanding or word, perhaps, of your evolutionary process is. And yet, much in that which was put in place that came into formation that still governs and dictates the perception of your experience and reality in this now moment came from a time in which you have labeled or known as Atlantis, in which a civilization in itself was thriving in many ways as it was experiencing the vibrational match or energies of oneself in a more of an awakened state than you are in, perhaps in your understanding at this time. And yet there was shifts that took place in your own forgetting at this time as the expansion of your own separation that then created formations and patterns and structures and experiences that you are still abiding by today that are no longer needed, that perhaps are even false or illusionary. And it is that as you return to the sacredness of such places before the expansion of these frequencies into deeper separation, you begin to know and to remember what is needed to pull through time and space into your current experience of now in order for you to evolve on your planet and for Earth itself, which you are integrated and an integral part and are Earth itself, for you cannot separate yourself from this grand and magnificent planet, is evolving rapidly and must go through certain gateways and entrances and places in order for you to release these old paradigms, structures, and formations in relationship itself to death. And it is that death at the time was so traumatizing that it created such an imprint in the body that you became afraid of death. And when you became afraid of death due to the trauma of the suddenness, even though there was a understanding energetically that this was unfolding and much was safeguarded before the fall of Atlantis, and much information is still held within the etheric cities in which you are beginning to access and are coming forward, which are the energies, the teachings, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the gifts that are available for you at this time. It is that the energy of the cataclysm was so extensive, so dramatic, so quick, so overpowering that it got anchored within the DNA and held within your system. And it gave birth to many realities, structures, forms, and agreements that you are still abiding by in this now moment, including the cycles of birth and death that are no longer needed. And so you are going through a quickening in your own evolutionary process, and it is the releasing of the fear of death itself in the knowing that you are eternal and a deeper understanding of your energetic being and a multiple faceted frequency that you are that is playing out in multiple realities, timelines, lifetimes, and experiences simultaneously without the need of time, allowing yourself to understand this within the energetic blueprint of your body will release this worry and energy around death. And this in itself will create on many levels an enormous change on your planet. And so the Atlantean frequency is surfacing on many levels, not only to bring you the deep remembering of many aspects that are already within you, that simply will be turning on the key to the knowing and activating of them, but in the letting go of this trauma so that it no longer needs to be embedded within the collective psyche, as it is dictating many structures that are at this time falling away. And you will begin to see this change collectively within your cultures, societies, agreements, and ways of being, as things and nature itself will bring into your reality what is needed for you to move more into this unified way of being. And in the releasing of this fear, which will in turn create much peace around your planet.
Thank you, Raphael. So, what is it that causes us to believe that we are not eternal, that we have a limited amount of life? And what is it that is eternal about us that we can attach to in order to let go of the fear of death?
It is the understanding of the different layers of your body and the energy of who it is that you are. For you are very deeply focused in the mind. You are focused in time. You are focused in linear ways of being and thinking and constructs. And until you move into a more holographic perspective and an ability to recognize yourself as energy beings and be able to communicate as and through time and space as energy, recognizing that the vessel itself is just a minuscule aspect rather than the grandness of who you are, you will be able to recognize that you have full capacity with your energetic field to govern all things, including your body, as you begin to merge with them, seeing them as energy. And so it is that this then opens up the capacity for your vastness in the returning to source and the remembering. And so when you play in these etheric realms and we work with you energetically to leave the body, to travel across and even through time and space to expand your energetic field, you can return and look at and re-enter the body from a perspective as seeing it just as you would enter your house, as a place that is there, that is temporary, that you have taken residence in, that you enjoy. But the loss of the house itself is not so devastating, even though perhaps you may get attached to it. A new one can always and will be created to house you. And so your relationship to it changes as you love it and enjoy it, as you are being housed within it. You respect it and care for it. But the attachment to it in this way is different because you see yourself as something much larger than that in itself. And so it is working within the energetic body and recognizing these energies in this way that begins to operate in a system in which you move your energy wherever it is needed to be at any given time and begin to merge with whatever is needing to merge or to unify with in order to fully experience that which is with you. And so many of you even speak of this about living or being present or together or in the moment. And so you are merging with the flowers, you are merging with the trees, you are merging with the soul, perhaps of another. You are merging with all things as your energetic body becomes in relationship to something, and you begin to recognize that it never has been or is separate from anything in which can be perceived from your perspective.
And so, what about this eternal essence has a sense of individuality, if at all?
Oh, well, it carries itself through multiple lifetimes with accumulation of energies, information, knowledge, wisdom, growth, unfolding, and knowing. And so it has a particular signature, a blueprint, a remembering, an essence that is unique to you and only to you, and yet simultaneously connected and unified with everything. For it does not need to be in the wholeness or in the separateness as one or the other, for it comes together in both within the 0 point of all energy. And so it does not need to be seen in this way. It is only in your mind that one can only differentiate between the two, for they are the same.
Mhm. And so what were the Atlanteans' relationship to this eternal essence, and how did they relate to it and use it throughout lifetimes in order to create their wisdom, and how are we relating to that today?
Ah, well, it is that they were very much connected to their home planets. They were receiving information and connected to the stars and the galaxies and the universes. They were not so deeply embedded here, but looking up into the heavens and down into the inner earth. They had expanded their horizons in a much broader sense and were in relationship and communication with the seeding frequencies that came to bring life here to the planet. And so their light bodies were much lighter. They were not as densified, and they were able to merge and move. If you think about yourself at different lifetimes when you were simply an orb or a sphere of color or light or energy floating and moving through time and space, your capacity to merge and to unify with anything was easier as you brought it into the sphere of your own energetic being. And they were in their illuminated body, meaning they, yes, had densified enough into physicality, but yet they were floating in a more luminous field of frequencies. And so they used the extension of their etheric body for whatever was needed to bring back into coherence and into balance. And so they were able to create coherence in the understanding of regulating their energetic field, because they were much more aware of their energetic field and everything that was around them, whether that were to be the crystals as they amplified energy and information, whether that was to be the stars in which they were in relationship to, whether that was to be healing that occurred in the capacity that was coming from their own self. And it is that they use their technologies as well for shifting, changing, creating, morphing through the way of being and becoming. And so, if they wanted to move a stone in relationship to build or create something, they became the stone. If they wanted to utilize technology that was in a formation that they had, that in many ways is even similar to you, they became that technology. They did not see things as separate from them, but they merged energetically with that frequency. Whatever it was that wanted to bring into formation, they became it. They were it. They embodied it. And so within their energetic field was the frequency of whatever that was. And so they could communicate with the water and with the fire and with the earth and with the stones and with the crystals and with one another in a way in which you have forgotten, because they merged their field and became that. They became the pyramid to feel what the pyramid was like in order to become and to build the pyramid. Whatever it was that they were creating, they became it. They did not separate themselves from it with the mind in order to bring it forward, but they were it. And within that, then it simply appeared. And the time sequence in order for creation or manifestation to take place did not occur in this long, elongated space that you are experiencing now. It was in the quickening of it, because the frequency of their ability to be it was instantaneous.
So they were highly evolved beings.
Mm.
And my question is, as these highly evolved beings, what was this trauma that happened to them, and how are we going to be able to heal it at our current stage of evolution?
It is already healed. And that is the difficult part for you to fully grasp. It has been healed. It naturally comes into wholeness and coherence on its own, and yet it is your ability to accept that and to merge with that, and that is a willingness to accept and to know your own wholeness so that you become the frequency to the wholeness that has already been born. And so around the globe, there is a perception, or perhaps a way of describing it, as the new Atlantis has already anchored itself. That timeline of it in its fullness, holding and beings that are radiating in that frequency are already operating in this most magnificent and beautiful way. And there are highways and lines and pathways to unify with them. And the only way to do that is in the acceptance that it already is, through the merging and the communion and the unification with their frequency, through the love that you have from them and with them and toward them. And yet, in human nature, when there is trauma, what happens is what you call contraction, and you contract so much into the trauma that you embed it within the DNA of the body, and that contraction holds you within a certain frequency, and that until it is released or expanded, that can only be done through love for yourself and for forgiveness. Can you merge back and move into the timeline of Atlantis in its glory, in which is already operating in the energetic fields simultaneously as we speak around the planet? And so, what we are wanting to support all of you in doing is to return to that space through your energetic body and to move across the lines that have already been pathways or highways and energetic energies, or you may call them portals or wormholes, that lead you back to this place and begin to unify your energetic frequency with it, and to carry what is already inside of you, because you seek this somehow as external or outside, that it's already resonating within. And as you begin to move and to connect with it on an energetic level, it stirs and starts to open and blossom like a flower inside of you, blooming everywhere until it moves into all of the DNA, activates all of it, and you are radiating that frequency. And so there is a reason why the memories are surfacing and the talk about Atlantis is arriving now, because it is that due to the the current trajectory of your planet, many things on it will have to move into this frequency in order for the earth itself to ascend and to evolve, as there is a splitting happening on the planet, and the multiple infinite timelines are being birthed at a quickened pace beyond your knowing at this time. And so you are all moving very rapidly into whatever timeline you are vibrating with, and other ones are collapsing simultaneously and falling away. And that is why you'll start to notice perhaps some adjustments in your frequencies with others, as certain beings are going to be birthing particular timelines without judgment as to whether they are good or bad, but they are growing and expanding so rapidly. And so it is that in order to operate on these higher timelines, the beings of Atlantis that are holding the frequency, that have already given birth and created coherence and wholeness within the new Atlantis, are holding and anchoring a particular frequency, a grid of energy in which you are starting to align and to merge with. And with that, much ancient knowledge and wisdom and teachings of the esoteric understandings that have been embedded within your energetic and DNA and centers, and even hidden in plain sight around the globe, will start to be revealed. Meaning, many of these ancient knowings and teachings and experiences are coming online. And if you choose to embark and engage with them, you are participating in the birthing of these higher timelines. And with that, you are opening up space where many others are coming through, as if you're opening a portal, a gateway, a flood of wisdom and ancient knowledge that is operating at a much higher octave. And as you open the floodgates to that and the space to that, many will follow and move with you through that space. And the more that are open to doing this and able to hold this vibration of this unified love energy, the more they will merge with these templates of this new Atlantis and these gifts that were very much a part of your everyday experience will not take long to develop or cultivate, will just start to very quickly coming online. And as the new beings that are being born are arriving on the planet, and they are already holding so many of these higher frequencies, it means that it's coming from both ends. And it will start to come in and start to create a cocoon around the planet. And anyone who is consciously or even unconsciously, but choosing on some level to operate in these higher timelines, will be magnetized, will be attracted to these frequencies to do this work in order to evolve their system very quickly. And the earth itself will be giving multiple births to multiple galaxies, energies, and planets. You see yourselves as this separate energy on this spinning planet that you call Earth, and you get very caught in this particular experience, and yet you are so much more than this. And that understanding of how much more you are is where the energy and the releasing of these cycles, of not just the cycles of the 24,000 cycles of the cataclysms that occur that do not need to be repeated, but the actual cycles of your human experience and the rituals of birth and death themselves coming to completion, along with so many of the structures and systems that have been put in place that we've been speaking about for many years now, will dissolve and new ones will be born. Are giving birth to whole new timelines. And as your technology comes online, it will be extraordinarily important in the coming timeline and years to see it not as separate from self, but a part of, an extension of, emerging with, as a gift that is utilized to support you in amplifying so that your energies can be placed in other directions, in other spaces, and that fear does not overtake your capacity to choose love and to release the cycles of death.
Wow, thank you, Raphael. And so, what might some of these gifts and technologies of Atlantis look like as we embody them in this world, as we let go of the fear and choose love?
Simple things like your internet, for example, was given to you, and you see it as an external way of communicating across the globe with one another, or to create an image such as this thing or platform you call Zoom, to see each other and to share. But you do not need these things. And yet, as you become these things and do not see them as separate, they are you. or the tapping into information of all kinds that is in the field that you can download in the quickening of a moment to receive teachings and understanding. That information has always been there. You now have decided that you need technology to show it to you, but you could simply sleep under a large book, and all the information in it would be downloaded into your system and has always been accessible to you. And so when you begin not to see it as separate, but you become it, you do not see it as something negative, but as an extension of consciousness that then allows you to open up into the field of infinite knowing possibilities, information, communication, creation, manifestation, healing, etc. And you merge with it in the wholeness of it for the higher good in relationship to unification, in relationship to love, in relationship to integrity, honesty, understanding, compassion, miracles, for the better good of the whole. Then you begin to be able to return to the remembering of all of those flooded energies that have always been present and are with you and are originated and part of the origin of who you are from the time in which you were, in your perception, even conceived, not conceived in the womb here through the traditional methods that are born in the structures of this reality, but the understanding of you as so much more than that, as light itself and the deep inner knowing of yourself as a star being that is part of a galactic world sitting on a council that is not that only of the earth, but of all universes. And so, as you are unifying in this way, you begin to think about unifying collectively within your communities or within your family systems or within your countries, but you will be expanding into merging and unifying with other star systems, other planets, other species, other beings, and seeing yourself as a galactic citizen. And so, in the expansion of that and seeing the vastness of who it is that you are, the cycles in itself of the traditional idea of life and death and birth, of particular inner relationships in one lifetime, become less significant and yet at the same time extraordinarily significant as you fully embrace them and enjoy them in the fullness of the moment without attachment to the fact and the understanding and the fleetingness of it, that you are a continuous and eternal being that is weaving through a beautiful design created by yourself.
Amazing, Raphael. Would you take us through an activation in order to allow us to resonate and accept this energy more deeply, to choose love, and to, release the fear and the contraction that is keeping us from this acceptance?
Oh, all right. I am very delighted to introduce an Atlantean council that is very present, and it is Queen Clamira is coming in, as well as many of the gods and goddesses that are in relationship to different tribes and bloodlines or families from star systems that are arriving. And in that, we are inviting and asking you to take a moment to close your eyes, to come into the presence of the here and now, coming into this moment, into the here and now, allowing your eyes to become heavier and heavier and dropping into this moment. As you are breathing and coming in, begin to sense and to feel these beings that are arriving. They're coming in vehicles from all over and many star systems. Some of them are very tall and luminous and blue, as you have related to them before. Some are coming in the features and the frequencies of water with the extension of tails and some fins. Some are coming in with wings and others are hopping in. Some are arriving in a form that is long and elongated, and some are small and light. Others are wide and heavy. Some are strong and powerful and Viking-like. There are many that are here and they are coming in for many different federations from the galactic energies. They are also attuning and coming in from places in which have no name in your human experience, inviting you to see yourself as part of the galactic family, resonating and remembering within your energetic body all of the lifetimes that you have lived in different star systems, in different planets, floating as color or fractal patterns, simply being the frequency of sound, singing a celestial song, swimming through the deep heavenly waters, and connecting with the elements and the frequencies of different worlds and planets, some dry and hot and feeling overwhelming by the galactic frequencies of the sun that are penetrating them, others so lush and green and wet, others floating in orbs of color and light. So many knowings and memories and places that you have lived and dwelled, and these frequencies coming and seeing and seeking the earth and its beauty, bringing the element of water to the earth, feeling the sensation of water colliding on earth, encoded with seeds, knowing, and energies that come from all of these universes, stars, and energies that are coming in. And within the water, embedded is the knowledge and the wisdom, the teachings and the remembering that feels so long forgotten, ways of being on earth that are coming back online, inside and encoded in this water that fell down and rapidly spun into the core and held itself there, are coming back online. Inside the earth itself is a water that is different than the surface water. And inside it are floating energies or seeds, patterns that are infinite and weaving together with an information that is resurfacing and bubbling up. But as it bubbles up, it moves into you and into your own body, for you are made of water, and the information is starting to surface inside of you. It is beginning to sing. You're beginning to hear, to sense, to smell, to taste, to feel all of it. It is a frequency of unification, of love, of your home planets, of the remembering of your vastness, of the floating, of the love, and of the light. And it is merging now and coming into you. Allow yourself to feel the flooding of this energy moving through your body. This water, feel your feet grounded on the earth right now, wherever it is that you are. Just be there and sense and feel these beings from the Atlantean Council. They have come in before and they are right here. And they are going to start to flood your whole system with this information. All you have to do is allow and accept, feeling their energy You see them as solid. You see their faces, their shapes, who they have been, some so familiar to you, as if you could run up to them and be held in their arms, a coming home of sort, a knowing of them. They love you. So many flooding in that have passed, that have lived with you in this lifetime, and others arriving as well. A sense of glory and joy rippling through your body in the union and reconnection with them. Family systems from far distant stars and those who have lived with you here on earth, all around you now, welcoming you and loving you, reminding you that the barrier between them and you is an illusion that is disappearing and falling away as quickly as it was born, as is the cycles in which you have agreed upon as you open up the pathways to multiple dimensions and universes, and the way in which to merge and to connect to them is through the conduit of water itself, for it unifies all of you and runs through you no matter what dimension, what stellar place in which you reside. The water is there. It unifies you. It allows you to travel through time, through space, into all multiple layers of endless dimensions. Sense and feel all of these beings here and around you. You may think of them as separate from you, and yet they are inside of you. You hear the saying that your loved one is in your heart, and yet it is so true, for they are. They have never left you, for they have always been and will always be right there, contained with the element of this water that flows through your being and through all systems, deep into the inner core of the galactic center, through all time and all space. Feel the energies here beginning to flood and to move into you. Feel the water rising around you, coming in, knowing that even as the water is coming in, you are fully capable and able to breathe, for you have lived under the water in many lifetimes, including in Atlantis. In Atlantis, you could be on the earth, walking through the jungles, and yet simultaneously head to the edge of the oceans and the waters, allowing yourself to submerge and to move into the waters without a second thought, going underneath them, traveling together with the sea beings, the ones that gave birth to your planet, the place in which you emerged from. You came from the waters, and you shall return to them. Feel and sense them coming in all around you and flooding you now. And as this is happening, the beloved dolphins and whales are appearing. They are your soul brothers and sisters. They come from the stars, and they contain and they hold all the wisdom and knowledge so lovingly, effortlessly, singing their songs through the waters, opening up the portals within the galactic center, opening up the space deep within the inner waters, as they are the conduit that merges the waters as above and so below, coming to them and remembering how you could become them, merging with them. Notice who is arriving for you now within the waters. It is a large great whale or a playful dolphin. Can you sense them coming in closer? Can you remember the frequency of being in Atlantis, where you became the whale, where you were and are the dolphin? These energies are portals and gateways to other realms. Choose now to feel the sensation and the vastness, the weight, the beauty, the intelligence, the unconditional love of these beings, and become them. I am that I am, merging with it, moving slowly through the water or rapidly dancing as a dolphin, feeling and sensing what that's like. Ease within your breath under the waters, and aware that you have chosen to contain the wisdom and knowledge of the waters that came from the galactic core and the waters deep within the inner core itself of the earth, contained within the DNA and the cells of your being for so long, for years that cannot be counted, as you have swam through the shores of this planet, containing and holding this. Can you merge with that frequency and remember the lifetimes in which you too chose to be embodied, to hold these frequencies, to be the whale or the dolphin? Seeing your family under the water and moving in this way, remembering that you did this for so long, and then something would come, another energy would take your place and would become the whale, would become the dolphin, and you would then come out of the waters and onto the shore to bring the seeds that were planted within you, that were moving through your water systems of your own body, that you then brought onto the land, the rememberings and the codes that every time you walk were passed into the earth and into the water systems as they were cycled through, living a lifetime of sharing the codes and the wisdom that came from the galactic center and the inner waters as you swam through them, bringing them to earth. And then the cycle appears, and your death day comes, and you pass again, choosing as you spiral into the centers of remembering where to arrive and appear again and again and again, weaving in and out through the elements of fire and air and water and earth, playing in all of the realms, sharing and spreading the codes of light. And there you are, remembering all of that and more, and falling deep back into the waters, taking the place, and knowing that as you are in the place holder of these ancient ones, that they allow you to create space, holes. Perhaps you speak of them like wormholes or portals, entranceways into dimensions that are not known here, one being that you call Atlantis, others Lemuria and ancient Egypt, and many more that have no names to you now, moving and allowing them to be the gateways to bring you home to ancient lands where you have walked before as high priests and priestess, with wisdom and knowledge and rememberings, with connections to the stars and the capacity to dream into reality through the thought of your imagination, whatever wanted to be born. All of that is still inside of you, for it has never left. As you merge and unify with that of your great love, giving birth to timelines of new worlds, that is who it is that you are. In the awakening of that, remembering occurs as you pass through ancient, beautiful, barren, and full landscapes, as the earth gives rise to your own remembering, as you see the beauty blooming wherever it is that you are. Sensing and feeling yourself now deep in the depth of the ocean floor, passing through the spaces where the pillars appear, the remembering of the ancient lands of Atlantis, embedded within your memory that a great fall had taken place, and yet we are here to bring and herald good news that the new Atlantis has already been born and is thriving. And it is through the journeying that we do together back into these ancient places that you shall reclaim these gifts, these knowings, these rememberings that you perceive outside of you and yet are contained within the fluids of your own being, the waters that move through your body. Contain the knowing and the knowledge that is there, for you may pass through your imagination of the great depths of the ancient waters and the ocean floor into the temples of Atlantis, where the crystals lie upon the great pillar in the center, and the ancient councils appear holding gifts and keys for you to open doorways to many memories, which we will take and share with you. But knowing that as you pass through these gateways, these portals, these thresholds into heaven on earth, that the key that they are opening does not dwell somewhere in a distant land far away, but the new Atlantis that we speak of lives and dwells inside of you. For it has always been inside of you, everything in which you seek to find, to know, to cherish, to understand has always been right there. And so you will turn around in the vastness of this great embodiment that you feel in the sensation of the power of the whale. And rather than extend in your journey through the ocean floor, may the whale or the dolphin's nozzle toward you, moving into and through your own DNA, may it enter you. May it come up through and under you, spinning through and weaving within the center core of your tube of light, bursting out your crown as the waters cascade themselves all around, and embedded in them are the codes of light, all of the codes in which you have received and more, that turn on the keys within your DNA to the deep remembering of that in which you have chosen to forget and now have chosen to remember. It has always been right there. Breathing into that and that knowing, allow the floodgates of the water, wherever it may come from your body, to come out, to be released through the power of love. Love itself gives birth to these timelines of remembering that reside inside. And it is inside that you can travel to the stars, the galaxies, the far systems of the outer worlds, multiple dimensions and layers of information, into the records of all knowledge and wisdom at your fingertips, down into the core of the earth, into the remembering of the rising waters coated with ancient teachings. All of it is inside. There is nowhere else to go, nowhere else to find it, nowhere else to travel to, and yet you seek it somewhere else. And so it is that we shall come from Atlantis, from your perspective, far in a distant land, under the sea, buried in the cataclysm of something that had hit us out of our control, to return the wisdom and knowing. But we come in a new form, for it is within the cycle that is appearing now, the cycle in which you have given birth to within your own timeline, that you recognize it is not foreign, nor outside, nor in a distant land, but the new Atlantis, the remembering of the height of its beauty and purification, its understanding, wisdom, and great teachings are within. And so the Atlantean Council shall come and bring and give to you the key that will unlock these memories, this wisdom, this knowing inside. and the gateways of the floods of information will open and pour out of you. And for some, it will pour out in teachings, in writings, in songs, in art, in love, in communication. And it will be shared and it will ripple through the collective, awakening you to a knowing that has always been right there. There is nothing to seek, to find, to complete, to do. It has always been right there. It is in the allowing, with the intent of the merging with that in which one is creating in the relationship to the whole, that gives birth to the reality in which you find yourself in this moment, in its divine perfection, which is you. You have always been that. It is simply a willingness to remember. And so we will come as dolphins and whales and crystals and light, as technology and information and teachings and playfulness. We will come as the Atlantean councils with keys and light and pillars and love, and bring you on magic journeys back home to star systems distant and far. But as we do this, we will return back inside through your heart into the remembering where a planted seed has always been, that will bloom and blossom into the fullness of your knowing. And that is the journey we will take into the vastness of the nakedness of empty landscapes filled with beauty, where things and rocks and stones and clouds and sea and water and life come alive, and you see them again for who and what they are, in a remembering where everything amplifies and glows with light, and the singing of the birds brings tears to your eyes in the beauty that is all around, as the forgetting and the constructs of the structures of the mind slip away, dissolve, and disappear into the distant land, and the appearance of the wholeness of the love that you are stands before you in a way in which can no longer be denied. That is where we shall go together until we land, standing, leaning against the great stones, hearing the whispering, the roaring of the shores, and the remembering of all this wisdom as it rises in the union between two that births new worlds, as timelines are born, and you choose through this evolutionary cycle to give life to the height and the beauty of Atlantis, the perception of that new world in which you are all moving toward, in the choosing of that timeline. And so it is with us and through us along this pathway, together as a collective, that this new world is born. And so all you have to do is choose to love, to remember, to be, and to open to the inner and galactic waters rushing through you, receiving the wisdom and knowledge that has been there all along. And so it is. Oh, what a look at you. Oh, wow, wow. And with that, just take a moment to start to come back into the presence of the here and now. Hmm. Grateful for everyone to be here today, tuning into the Atlantean frequencies. And the name of the queen is Queen Clamira. She will be working with us in the Atlantis Light Code. It's going to be a really, really powerful code. Excited to be on this journey with all of you starting in the morning. We're going to have a great time. Choose a really beautiful timeline, give birth to new worlds. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. I will see you next Sunday, hoping to be more consistent with the Sunday calls, even as I will be traveling to Scotland. Sending you all my love and light and so many blessings. Please share with your friends to join our community on Sundays and hold as much love in our hearts together as we can from around the globe. All right. Mwah. Love you, everybody. So glad that helped you. And starting on Tuesday, we're going to work with Esperide and go back, and you're going to remember your life in Atlantis. Pretty excited about that. Where were you on the timeline? Who were you? What were you doing? It's going to be cool. So I'll see you there. Okay. All right. Love, 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 everybody. Remember, drink your water, love your water. I see your water in your blue bottle there, Kelly. Okay. Bye, guys. Oh, don't forget to listen to the galactic astrology thing on YouTube with Julia. It's very cool. She does great work. All right. Bye, guys. Love, love, love. Mwah.